Hey Bayek, it's me Ian. And in today's video, well, I continue my look at the X-Files, the second season. And this is episode 8, One Breath, from 1994. This is a real return to form, and it's a great episode. It's an important episode as well in the whole series. But I'm so glad. I say watching it again, it's just wonderful. So previously we had the one with just David Duchovny in 3. The next one after this will be Firewalker. Now, this was transmitted on the 11th of November 1994 on the Fox network, and on the 16th of October 1995 in the UK on BBC Two. It is written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. We know, brilliant, absolute, wonderful writers. And apparently, David Duchovny had challenged them to do an episode like Beyond the Sea for him. And this is what they did. They effectively, we have a very emotional episode for David Duchovny, for Mulder. This is adds a lot, I think, to this episode, the strength of it. That's why, you look back and think the previous one, yes, but this one, it's good. So it's directed by R.W. Goodwin, who was involved in directing episodes with season 1, the El Mayor Flash, 1994, season 2, Anasazi, 1995, which was the season finale, season 3, The Blessing Way, 1995, that was the opening episode, and then the finale, Talatha Cumni, 1996, season 4, he directed Volk, which was the opener of 1996, and also I did the finale on that, which was Gethsemane, 1997. Finally, in season 5, he did the opening episode, which was Redux, 1997, and he did the finale, which was called The End, in 1998. So he's a good director, knows the X-Files very well, and does a great job. Now, let's go through the cast. We've got David Duchovny as Fox Mulder. We've got Gillian Anderson playing Dana Scully. We've got Mitch Pileggi playing Walter Skinner. We've got Steve Williams, yes, back as X. And then we've got William B. Davis as the smoking man. And we've got the return of the lone gunmen. So we've got Bruce Harwood as Byers. We've got Dean Hagland as Langley. And we've got Tom Braidwood as Frohike. Then we've got Don Davis making an appearance as William Scully. It's only a very short one as Scully's dad. It's in one of these sort of dream-like sequences that we get. And we've got also the return of Sheila Larkin, who plays Margaret Scully. And then the sort of guest star, really, actress is Melinda McGraw, who plays Melissa Scully, which is an introduction to Scully's sister. She was in Wrongfully Accused 1998, which was a comedy with Leslie Nielsen. Oh, yes, that was crazy. She was also in The Dark Knight 2008. And she was in Skateland 2010. And then she's in a lot of TV series and TV films. Now, the introduction of this character, I think, is interesting because they were thinking on the lines that maybe she would become a romantic interest for Mulder. But that idea was dropped, thank heavens. Yes, because there's only one way we've got to see, and it's got to go with Dana Scully. Yeah, that's the way it's got to be. You just know that from day one. So that they didn't develop that idea. Now, what is this about? What is the story? Because we've now got, of course, Gillian Anderson has had her baby. Yes. And apparently, about 2 or 3 days later, she came back to film this. That's why we see her lying down a lot on the set. But she's there, and it's all part of the story, which is great. They're able to write all this brilliant, and it feels, as I say, it feels good. Just having her back is so important. So, what is this about? So, Scully returns. A comatose body just appears in a hospital. Nobody knows how she got there. And her life is hanging in the balance. And of course, they alert Mulder, and he's straight there, and it's all very emotional seeing her there. She's comatose totally. Her life basically is hanging in the balance, and he's very much emotionally involved in this episode. You can see that, and he wants to know what happened, what's going on here. Now, it's interesting that somebody comes and tries to take the blood of Scully, and there's a chase, and then we come across, yes, X basically executes the person who was done this. And again, it's so frustrating for Mulder because he wants to know more from this and what's going on. But with the help of the lone gunman, which is great to see them back, the lone gunman discover that a DNA has been altered and the immune system shut down. So again, this is very much part of what's going on, maybe in the conspiracy, maybe not. It's great, and it is always good to see the Lone Gunmen. They're just such a great addition to the cast, and the story just unfolds as you might expect, and it leads you in certain directions, but David Duchovny does get his opportunity here to have a very much an emotional episode, and we see that in so many ways. And he's getting to the end of his tether, and when we see the break into his flat, he just breaks down and cries. Every time he's trying to find something, he can't. The frustration is getting more, and we get a very important confrontation with the smoking man. Yes, he's given his address through a cigarette packet. He breaks in and he puts a gun to his head, and is he going to kill him? But he doesn't, because he's basically says, if you kill him, there's no way you will find the truth out. You've got to keep fighting for the truth. It's very interesting confrontation. It really is, because you think, oh crikey, yes, because especially with what's happened, and he's saying if you want to save her as well, he's got to do this. But then there's another interesting scene that we see. We see Skinner now, and he makes it quite clear he doesn't like the smoking man, even though he's quite clearly above him in many ways, I think. But he puts his authority down. But he tells Mulder a very interesting story about when he was in Vietnam. And basically, he had an out-of-body experience when he thought he was dead. And that is an interesting side to his character, because it kind of says that, yeah, he does understand. He may not explain everything to him, as he says, but he knows that there are things that can't be explained, and that kind of puts him on the side of Mulder and Scully, and he's going to be there to help them, protect them in terms of the X-Files, despite people trying to close them. And that is a very important emotional scene as well. I think it's great. It really adds to the power of this episode. There's so many scenes like that. It is a very emotional episode. And then with Scully's sister, we see as well. But I think David Duchovny is actually perhaps playing this part now on this episode exactly what he wanted. He can give the emotional depth, which sometimes may be lacking. And we get it here, and that is wonderful. It is good to see. And this episode, as I say, puts all the mythology there. I love the way it's filmed, that when she's in this like dreamlike state, she's comatose, to say she could die, and we see all these things like the boat. She's in a boat and it's tied up and moored and it's drifting, and is it going to break? There's all sorts of symbolism of death. There's also that cross as well, which Mulder has kept, and he gives it back. There's a beautiful scene about the nurse. There's been, when she's in this coma, there's a nurse at her side, and she's helping her, saying, you've got to live. It's not your time to go yet. And they're wonderful scenes. And then I love the twist at the end, when she says, I'd like to thank the nurse who was, on my side, and she gives a name and what have you. And then it says, no, we don't, there's no nurse of that name here. No. And wow, you go, wow, I love that. I love that, putting it into the story. So we get about the religious side as well, because we know that actually Scully does have faith, and we've seen that. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. What an episode. Really made me excited again after last week's not very good episode. I think the rest are going to be just as good now. It gets back on track. You've got to have them both in it, really have. Absolutely wonderful. And so, before I go, I do this every week. Here it is. The little box in the big box. Yes, there it is. The second season box set and the big box set. Look at that at the back there. Fantastic. I absolutely love this. And yeah, that's it really. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and we'll let you know when I put out these videos. And if you look in the playlist, you can see all the previous reviews I've done of the X-Files, but I also do movies and a TV series, a bit of music, all that kind of thing. Just look in the playlist. And if you like this particular video, please give this a like, because if you give this a like, it'll get onto YouTube and algorithms and all that kind of stuff. And if you've got any comments, I love to read your comments. I'll always answer your comments. And that's it. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.